Hi, I'm Rob Boyd, an English photographer from the UK. I decided to create this podcast series talking to international photographers whose work I truly love. I realised I knew nothing about these amazing people apart from their names and their stunning work. So I created a set of hopefully entertaining questions that finds out who they are and what they love. Hi Martin, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you being here, my friend. And if you can start with your name and your Instagram name, that'd be brilliant, mate.
So my full name is Martin Marticevic and my Instagram name is martincreates_official. And thanks for having me, by the way. I'm really excited to be here. And yeah, I know how much work you've put into this podcast, and I've been listening to some of the episodes, and it's really interesting how so many different answers come about.
I appreciate it. And also appreciate you actually talking to me now. And tell me where you are at the moment.
So right now I'm in Croatia, and I do about 2 visits a year here because my family are from here. So I come just to, see people, do standard personal admin, go to the dentist, go to the opticians, just like standard routine checkups, and take a nice break from London. And yeah, it's coming up to summer now, so a lot of mosquitoes, days are longer, so it's nice.
Excellent stuff. Brilliant. So if you do you have a website? I forgot to ask that.
Oh yeah, I do actually. It's martincreates.co.uk. That's where you can find all of my paid commissions from things like weddings, corporate events, headshots, even some of my street stuff, because I do like to have a acknowledgement of that over there where people can see kind of some of the stuff I do in my free time.
Right, okay. And where do you actually live? Where are you living at the moment?
So I currently live in North London, and potentially, hopefully my girlfriend and I, we're going to move to Essex at the end of August. So those are the current plans in terms of living arrangements. But I am a Londoner born and bred, so it'll be sad to say goodbye, but always happy to start a new chapter.
Okay, and where are you from originally?
Originally, I was born and raised in London, Camden boy. But as I said, my family are from Croatia. Actually, my mum's Iranian and my dad's Croatian, so it's a bit of a mix at home. But they moved to the UK from Yugoslavia, so it's all a bit of a culture mix in that sense.
Yeah, cool. And I guess that's probably why you travel a lot as well. I guess you see a lot of a mix of cultures.
You do catch the travel bug from people around you, and obviously my parents, they traveled a lot when they were my age and younger, so kind of listening to their stories always made me excited to go and see places. And then the camera comes with me, and the diversity in the photos in my Instagram, because if it's not in the UK, it'll be somewhere else, but I always like to kind of show things from a certain perspective. And the world's a big place. I feel like the best education a man can get is from travel. It's a never-ending program. So
yeah, absolutely, 100%. I totally agree. I love traveling. So if you took me to shoot, if I came to visit you, where would you take me to shoot?
It would depend on the weather, to be honest. There's never a bad place to shoot. It's just sometimes, for example, if I was to really choose somewhere and say, okay, this is the one spot I really want to take him, I'd say Soho at night, because when I was working full time in the office, and I was learning how to use my camera and everything else, this is like the origin story, if you like. I'd go and meet some of the lads and do some street photography at night, because that's when you finish work, and that's when we had, days are short in the UK in the winter, and then you go and you go around the city and you take nice photos, you use the neon lights, you use the whatever's available to you, kind of, you've seen it as well. It's a very challenging experience, but then you get used to it, you start to meet friends, you start to experiment, and that being the origin story is always going to be kind of the place where I take people to see something that's valuable to me. But of course, London's a massive place. We've probably venture on from there and go and see other neighborhoods, maybe towards London Bridge, Tower Bridge. St. Paul's. There's so much to see in London, but that's where I would start. So,
what's your favorite destination in the world?
So if we're talking generally, not just photography, I'd say 100% Mexico. I'm talking about the country, even though I think it's a cheat answer because it's so big. It's a bit of a cheat code. But it's just such a special place to me, because I used to live in Mexico City for 6 months, and I went back recently for a wedding, and it just reminded me how special the country is and how it's constantly changing. So even though you've been there once for so long, you come back a few years later or a year later and everything's changed. Like people are so entrepreneurial, they're all starting new businesses, new restaurants, new concepts. So many people live there, and just where it is geographically, even if you get tired of the city, you can go to nature. You've got jungles, beaches, mountains, caves. The list is endless, and I think, you know, anyone will be blessed to at least go there once in their life. But if you get a chance to go more repeatedly, that would be amazing. So I'd say Mexico is high on my list then. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Now it's definitely on the bucket list. You know, it's one of many.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, too many.
That's it, exactly. So where would you like to most visit in the world? Where would you really want to go?
If you ask me this again in a few months, I might give you a different answer. But recently, my girlfriend and I, we got back from Georgia, and we were speaking to another couple there, a British couple, and they were telling us how they went to Uzbekistan recently and they loved it, and that we have to go. So it's got my appetite to go somewhere a bit different. And I thought Uzbekistan is somewhere that would never have crossed my mind until recently. So now it's currently like top of mind, but that might wear off in a few months. We'll see.
People recommend somewhere, then yeah, definitely, you know. And if they describe it well enough, it's even better, you know.
Yeah, exactly. They sell it in a way they don't realize they're selling it to you. You think to yourself, right, I have to go there.
Right, weird question time. So if you could time travel, where and when would you travel to?
It's a tough question actually, because again, this is an answer that might change for me every day. It depends how I feel. Right now, being in Croatia, there's a big sense of nostalgia whenever I come here, because it's got so many nuances that nod towards the old socialist Yugoslavia. And you think to yourself, what was it like back then? Like, what was life like back in the socialist Yugoslavia time? And that right now, like you're asking me, I'd say I'd want to go back to that view to see what it was like. I mean, right now in Croatia, there's a bit of a brain drain where people are leaving to go and work abroad for high salaries. So the city is very empty. Back then, the people couldn't do that. So the city was full of life. So I would have liked to have seen where my dad was raised, what the city was like, what his social life was like. No phones, no internet, you know, all the famous stories about where they used to meet up and go for a drink, go fishing, all these things. That would be really nice for me to see. So I'd say that period for those reasons.
Yeah, excellent. No, that sounds brilliant. It's a perfect reason for traveling back. So if you could photograph anyone in history, who would you shoot?
I'd say Benjamin Franklin. It was one of the first autobiographies I read. It was a bit of a weird read, if I'm honest with you, because he talked a lot about veganism, which I was kind of surprised anyone back then was thinking about veganism. But yeah, it had an impact on me because I was quite young, and it was my first time living abroad in Germany. I remember I used to commute every day quite far to go to work, my internship, and reading his autobiography was quite inspiring in some ways. So if I could go back and just photograph him, just because from that I can have a conversation with him as well.
Excellent. Right. So tell me a fun fact or a story about yourself.
My birthday is the same day as Mexican Independence Day. So 16th of September. And when I was living in Mexico, we went to this city called San Miguel de Allende, which is a very popular, what they call village for celebrating the New Year. The Independence Day in Mexico. So the whole of Mexico comes to this little village, and for those 3 days, everything goes up in price. The Airbnbs, it's just crazy, and it's a beautiful town. People get married there. It's really, really beautiful, stunning. And it's just every region in Mexico wants to show why they're the best region in Mexico. So they're like, we can drink the hardest, we can party the hardest. So you're just there as a foreigner, pre-showing the spectacle that everyone from around the country has come to like prove that they're the best region, and it's your birthday at the same time. And it's like, wow, this is like such a unique experience. I never thought I'd live. So that was, a few funny things happen. Obviously, we'll keep the story PG, but that for me was a very special moment, and it's a special fact because it obviously, some random guy in
lands on your birthday.
Yeah, it was on your birthday. Some random guy in North London, suddenly his birthday's on the same day as Mexican Independence Day, and he happens to live there now. So, yeah.
So I know it's a bit of a random, weird question, but what's your favorite word? Normally somebody has a favorite word.
You know, I'll tell you something. There's a word, dedicate. I'll tell you why it's my favorite word, because basically when I was learning Spanish, we had to learn the phrase I had to learn the phrase what do you do for a living? Like in English, when we ask someone, what do you do for work? It's like, that's it. What do you do for work? What do you do for a living? What's your job? They're very much like black and white questions. Whereas in Spanish, it's a que te dedicas, which is like, what do you dedicate yourself to? That's how you ask them what their job is. So it made me actually think, even at quite a young age, like, well, hang on a second, what does one dedicate themselves to? Like, let's remove the aspects of living, job, all these words that we use. What does one dedicate themselves to? That's actually a very profound question. And it sounds a bit silly, like, really saying this with a smile on my face, but it does provoke certain thoughts where you think to yourself, hang on a second, like, what do we spend most of our time doing in our life? Like, that's what we dedicate ourselves to. So if you like spend 10 hours a day doing a job you don't like, well, whether you like it or not, that's what you dedicate yourself to. So I kind of like that word, and that's how I think to like it.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. That's what resonates with you. It's that's what I love about that question. Everybody gives me a different answer. Everybody has to think about it, and yet I get a brilliant answer every time.
Yeah, I mean the crazy thing is that it's like there's so many good words, right? There's so many good words, not just in English. Like every language has like specific words. Where I think German, I saw some back in the day. I saw like a tweet where it talked about interesting German words that you can't really translate, and one of them was like the opposite of homesickness, where you've got like you miss the feeling of being away from home, almost like the travel bug or something. Like, I don't know how you translate it, but I was thinking to myself, like, every language has like really interesting words, and nobody, like, as English speakers, we're kind of one way privileged that we never have to learn another language because everyone speaks English nowadays. But at the same time, it's also kind of a curse because there are so many good words and so many ways of seeing life differently from those words that we never get to learn or come into contact with. So,
yeah, I can speak a few languages badly. Only in cafe language, though, coffee, tea, all that rubbish. But it made me laugh with the Spanish. I had a Spanish cheap 99p book once, and it basically started out the usual hola and then qué tal and all this thing. But the third thing they had on the thing was hay mucho bolivianos aquí. So it's like, are there many Bolivians here? And that was the third thing in the book. And it was just like, for God's sake, you've just learned, how are you? Okay, hello. And then, are there many Bolivians here? It's like, what the heck is that about?
Well, when you ask the question, maybe you'll know that you'll get to meet some Bolivians, and then you might have a good night or a good yeah, exactly what you leave from that question. But whoever wrote that book, they must have had a good trip to Bolivia.
Yeah, who knows? Absolutely bonkers. Anyway, because it's an international podcast, teach me a word or a saying I may not know.
Yeah, so I saw something the other day actually. It's basically it's to do with it's like motivational quotes. But I really liked it. I don't actually repost motivational quotes on Instagram because I find it quite cheesy. But I reposted this one because I actually liked it, and it's something that I always do myself whenever I go to like the sea or the lake, somewhere outdoors, and I'm like, I don't want to jump in the water because I know it's going to be so cold. And so this quote was like, just because you wait a long time, it doesn't mean that the water's going to get warmer. It's not going to get any warmer just because you're waiting. So it's kind of like, it shows you have to just jump and go like in that moment. And I think life is like that. It's not going to get any easier just because you wait for something to happen to make it easier. It doesn't work like that. So nature can be cruel, but if you meet it face on, it's fine. You're gonna do good things. So, yeah, I like that quote. So I like that thing.
Yeah, great. Love that. Excellent stuff. So, when did photography click for you? Excuse the pun, but what moment did you realise you could take a good photo?
No, never excuse the pun because I love puns. I actually follow this guy on Instagram. He's called a pun master. Like, he walks up to people in the street and he asks people like, choose a word, I'll make a pun with it. I don't know if you've seen him. I forgot his name now. So I love puns. But yeah, photography for me was always like whenever smartphones came out with a camera, I think that's when it really started to like resonate with me. I used to travel a lot, backpacking. I used to use my phone, and it always used to scare me to spend the money on a camera, because it's like, what if something happens to it, water goes in it. They're not sealed like they are today. The technology is really moved a long way in a short space of time. They were very heavy and everything. So for me, it was like just relying on my phone for many years, and then finally, a good 4 years ago, I bought my first camera, and it was a Canon 6D Mark One, 24 to 105 f4. Bought it secondhand in a shop in Tottenham Court Road, and I took it on my trip to Colombia. I first started using it with my dog. Then I started taking pictures for my friends, just for their Instagram, where we just like play around with it, do headshots. I found it fun, meet up with friends in the city, go for a drink, take some pictures. Then I went to Colombia. I took so many pictures there, and I didn't even care about editing them. Just like, wow, just this feeling of like when that shutter goes, it's like, wow, focus, click, done. I mean, that's a moment that's going to live with you forever. Then I bought my 50mm. I thought, let me try and work these prime lenses. Then later they challenge you differently. So I went to Brazil, and that was a challenge because it's a more dangerous country. So walking around with a camera was a bit more dangerous. In fact, I bought a special camera for that trip. I bought a Fuji X100T, very small, pocket friendly, fixed lens. And then I came back, sold it. So I didn't do that more. Stuck my Canon, and I started doing some semi-professional shoots. Then I switched to a mirrorless system, and that's really when things just took off for me. As started doing it professionally at full time, left my job. So that's kind of the backstory of how I came to do what I do now. It sort of started.
That's great to hear background story. That's amazing. Excellent. So, what's your favourite 3 photos you've taken, and why do you like them?
I'd say one of them is definitely of a DJ that I took in Peckham, Prince of Peckham pub. It was the first. I just bought my first flash my camera, and I did this little job, very very small job, for Good Friday bank holiday weekend sort of thing, and I took it to the pub, sorry, and it was like kind of a nightclub event that night. DJ in each room, and I just put the flash on, and I didn't even watch any tutorials. I just sort of like, I don't know, I just copied what I saw someone else do once at an event I went to. And I took a few pictures, and I thought, actually, these are coming up pretty well. Put them on my laptop later, and I thought, wow, these are actually good photos. So that one of those ones, I'll have to send it to you later. That was probably my favorite. So I thought, wow, never used flash before, and it just kind of came out as I expected, as I wanted, even better. I'd say definitely I covered a wedding. There was a 4-day wedding in Liverpool, and I was a bit nervous because I was traveling a long way around Christmas time to do a wedding, and I wasn't exactly the most experienced with weddings at that stage. But I thought a bit of imposter syndrome kicked in. But when you see the bride look at the groom for the first time, that kind of busted moment, and you capture that, and it's like, wow, I just did it. Like, you just capture something that's gonna live in their life forever. That's probably my second favorite photo. Choosing number 3, I think it has to be something a bit more personal. I took a picture of my dog one coming underneath this tree that had fallen down over this little stream, and the framing was just perfect. And I thought, right, I can edit this properly, get the colors right, get the shadows lifted. And it was one of the first photos I edited on Lightroom. Still there on my cloud, like what I'm getting. I'd say that definitely with some of my photos as well.
So, what advice would you give to a new photographer?
I haven't listened to all of your episodes, so I don't want to sort of repeat something I've heard, but it's a bit of a cliche one. I think comparison is the thief of joy. So if you constantly compare yourself and put yourself down because you're not doing what someone else is doing, you're doing yourself and the whole photography community is justice, because what the community wants to see of you and your style and your evolution, they don't want to see you try and copy someone else. you know. And even as I say that out loud, it's like I'm kind of still guilty of it sometimes, which is probably concerning. But no, it's something that I truly believe, because I see sometimes people coming into the game without any experience, but they produce some really beautiful shots. And it's like, how can I explain to that person that, hey, you've just done something that's very unique to you. Don't stop. Don't criticize yourself. Don't, like, show the world more of that. You know. So that'd be my biggest piece of advice, because it's relevant to any genre. It's not just street. It's not weddings. It's not just sports. It's any genre. So that's my biggest advice. Yeah. Period of time when I was noticing, in particular, you're posting a lot of good silhouettes, especially in the reflections on window front or any reflection. Maybe it's like a mirror and any sort of surface. I'm thinking it comes really naturally to the site. You know, it's not like you're using a GeoSpec for medium format. Like you're going out trying to find a the tip lens. I think I read once in your post that you're using a very humble sensor, and it's coming very naturally to them. So this is a skill that you need to acknowledge, because, you know, even the very biggest heavyweights out there, they go out and they can't do that. So it's something which, you know, if that's your style, if that's what you enjoy, and it comes naturally, like, kill it, take it to another level.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, that's the thing. You were talking about Lightroom. I don't use Lightroom. I use a few settings on my iPad, and basically use that old camera that I've used from the beginning. But love the damn thing. You know, it works well, and it, you know, you just got to work harder for it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Don't touch what isn't broken.
Yeah. Good point, actually. Excellent. So what's next? What have you got going on? What's coming up?
And in terms of the personal point of view, you know, there's going to be more trips in the pipeline, and I just want the world, or I want people that I know to see, like, hey, you know, it's good to travel to places that aren't, you know, that are a bit off the grid. People were very surprised how much I enjoy Georgia. They're like, Georgia for me is a country that a lot of people need to go and visit. Like, I know it's not necessarily in the best part of the world. I know it's had some conflicts in the past, but it's the people, it's the culture, it's the food, it's the history. It's a lot of things that people, I think, will don't understand, that, hey, the world is bigger than just what's across the pond or what we can see on Instagram. You know? There's a lot out there to see.
Excellent. Well, thanks for being my guest. I really appreciate it.
Honestly, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Right. Well, enjoy your trip, and thanks for doing it. Really appreciate it. Take care. Cheers, mate. Bye.